Hey, what's up? Moldover here. I'm in the Alps because I can, and I'm usually in a basement, workshop, or studio of some kind, so I thought it'd be nice for a change since I'm here to enjoy the scenery as I share with you the latest creation. This is the Mojito 1.5. 1.5 because version 1's been out for about a year, and I did a bunch of hacked upgrades to this one to improve it in a lot of fun and interesting ways. A lot of that's to bring it closer to having the feature set of my last controller, the Mojo. So I'm really excited that now the Mojito pretty much does most of what the Mojo does. It's got a lot of extra special tricks like rotary encoders and joysticks that the Mojo didn't have. And it's much smaller, more compact and light. And that's part of the point, is I can travel to places like this, which is to carry on and my whole rig, more or less. So yeah, let me talk about the specifics. I'll get a little closer here. So you might notice first and foremost are all these beautiful touch strips. There's 7 of them. They're stuck to the face of the Mojito. I left some of their electronics exposed to try and match up with the aesthetic of the Mojito, these like circuit board traces that I put in the graphics on the front panel. That's why they have these cool like octagonal jagged edges and whatnot. But the main reason for those is to give me some tactile feedback so I can feel where my touch strips are. That's one of the problems with touch sensors is no tactile feedback. So that's kind of a nice happy medium that lets me feel where I'm at and still use those really expressive and fun touch sensors. Also in the 3D printing territory, I'm doing a lot of 3D printing these days for another project coming soon, are these cool little brackets. So these basically protect this row of 4 buttons so they cannot be accidentally pressed. They're kind of recessed, and that was something I did on the Mojo with recessed arcade buttons, but now I've recreated here. And so these are to protect these buttons, and they all do things that you wouldn't want to accidentally do in the middle of a performance, like stop all the music entirely or jump to the section of the song that you just played. So they're protecting arrangement controls and other, shall we say, performance sensitive things. Also 3D printed are these nifty custom fader caps. So these I printed to make them a little more narrow in this dimension, so it's easier to get to the touch strips that live in between them. And I also just wanted to imitate my favorite fader caps, DJ Mixer style, with all the geometry that I love. In that same realm are these knob caps. I put them on the rotary encoders too, which is a little silly to have marked knob caps on encoders, I know, right? Because they don't tell you what position they're in. But I just love these things. These are exactly what I have in the Mojo. They come from Rain, and they're grippy rubber, clear indicators, really easy to grab and twist. So I just love having those things. Velcro, that's really easy to do. That just lets me find my home position without having to look at the Mojito. Yeah, and then I think the last thing on the front here are this hardware. Screws, right? Not too exciting normally, but the Yaltex controllers come with Torx head screws, which are great. Torx is actually kind of a superior standard to these Phillips head or plus screws, but I like these because they're just a little more universal. So if I'm somewhere like I am here out in the wild and I need a screwdriver that matches, it's a lot easier to find Phillips head in my experience. So that's why I went with that. And they're also countersunk. So there's little pits in the panel that let me sink the screws and make everything a little bit smoother, flatter, which I really enjoy. And yeah, flipping over to the back side, I redid the back panel. So not nearly as pretty. The one that the Yaltex controllers come with is, I think it's powder coated steel with like a really cool texture to it. So it's beautiful, it's durable, it's awesome. But I was trying to take a little bit of weight off this thing. That's partially because we're gonna stand mount it. So that's the other major thing, is besides making a thinner aluminum back panel, recreating all the same holes and stuff to mount electronics and attach it to the controller, is this new stand mount. So the old Mojo had a really heavy duty percussion stand mount with 4 thumb screws and a bracket that attached to like a big heavy percussion stand. And that thing's awesome, but it's big and heavy. So you certainly can't throw it in your backpack. And it's a lot easier to find a mic stand than a heavy percussion stand, which is why I went for the standard mic threads. So yeah, I can just spin in a mic stand of any kind and have this thing totally stand mounted at my favorite angle for performance. So yeah, some cool upgrades there, and I can still just plop it on the table for programming or, you know, typical usage. So yeah, that's the back panel. And then last but not least is a super wacky, over the top, like I was saying, I'm doing a lot of 3D printing. This is a 3D printed cover. So this is kind of in the style of things you might have seen from DeckSaver, where it matches the topography of the device really closely to protect all the controls. You can see it's really kind of a wacky design. Not a great idea to 3D print this, but you know, I was doing a lot of 3D printing for this other project, getting really good at it, getting really experienced. And so I was like, hey, the heck with it. I'll just 3D print something that's like way bigger than my 3D print bed, whatever. And I have to put it together like a puzzle. But end result is that it has the same look and feel as the other hardware in there, and some cool little details like the name of the controller engraved in there. And yeah, was able to make it super accurately. It's got felt all around the edges. So it doesn't look pretty inside there, but it protects the controller really well. I had this crazy cover for the Mojo that's screwed onto the front of it, and this one just kind of sucks on. It might fall off if you shake it around enough, but you can, you know, throw a cover over this. I mean, throw it in a bag or whatever, and you're good to go. So yeah, it has all of the things I could ever want in a controller, pretty much, at least today. And big thanks to Yaltex for helping me with all this. Couldn't have done it without you wonderful people. Not only making the controller, but helping me with the hacks. So hats off to those guys for making an elegant system where you too can get your own Mojito, or you can design your own controller really easily. Maybe not without all these hacky, weird extra doodads, but your own configuration of knobs, buttons, faders, whatever you want. Yaltex will hook that up. And yeah, and a big thanks to Machine Makerspace in Indianapolis, who helped me with a lot of the modifications that you see here today. And yeah, that's all for today. Peace. Thanks so much. Enjoy the great outdoors.